Hello and welcome to Unrequested with Rad and Shank. I'm Rad.
What's up, y'all? This Shank.
I don't know why we laugh at this intro every week, man. I don't know why. I like wait to see how you introduce yourself.
Oh my gosh.
And is the intro okay? Is this whole like hello and welcome to you never noticed that? Like I didn't ask you.
It does.
Dude, you're my partner in this, and I never even asked you, like, are you okay with that?
Are
intro?
you okay with that?
Like,
I'm okay. I just get goofy when I say my own name for some reason.
I think the way I deal with it, I just kind of like, I don't know. I think I go game show host on it. I'm like, hi, Unrequested with Rad and Shank. Hi, I'm Rad. You know, and I guess I want to be real. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if it'd be like, yo, what's up? You're listening to Unrequested with Rad and Shank, right?
Yeah.
And would that sound like me?
No, that wouldn't be you.
Right.
That wouldn't be you.
I got some swag, you know,
you do.
but I don't know if that would sound right.
Yeah.
So I just go with hello. And I'm going to tell you where I get that too. There was this, and I don't know if she even listened, but there was this girl I worked with 22 years ago.
Yeah.
And her name was Rajoya. And no, in my entire life, there was not a time that someone ever said hello. People say, hi, what's up? How you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Hey, I've never known anyone to fully say hello.
Yeah.
So I'd always like, hey, Rajoya, what's up, girl? How you doing? She's like, hello.
Wow.
And for real, like that every time I saw her. And it to this day, it stands out in my mind. She left an impression and it was just such a proper hello. She was like, hello.
That's dope.
Yeah, man.
That's
I
dope.
was digging it. So I don't know why. It sounds right when I do the intro.
When you open it.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, hello. Welcome to Unrequested. And that's how we start, guys. Remember,
right.
unedited, and this is raw, because it's definitely not a conversation that you probably wanted to hear. But,
That's right.
you know, you didn't ask for it.
But you're getting it.
Yeah, that's right.
I got nervous.
Where you're like, line.
Where is the darn line?
Yeah. And you guys can't see the studio. We changed the studio today, so the studio setup's a little different.
Right.
If you see our Instagrams, you'll see in our Instagram stories that, you know, we're facing each other this time. We usually sit side by side.
Yeah.
So we decided to face each other because we thought maybe it'd be more like a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think that's why I'm making Shank nervous, because as I'm saying things, I'm looking at him.
He's looking at me right now. Yeah.
You know, it's like eye contact.
It is.
but we're comfortable with eye contact.
We are actually. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, well, Shank, before we go into today's subject, man, how you been, man? How's your week been?
Man, I've been good, man. My hemorrhoid, actually, I want to give everybody an update. So my hemorrhoid is actually, it's gone. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. The hydrocortisone cream that was prescribed by the doc worked just like magic. But I am dealing with another situation.
Okay.
My bunion in my left foot kind of flared up. And so my foot swelled up out of nowhere.
Oh, man. Yeah,
so
that's
now
right.
I'm dealing with this, man.
Yeah, so you haven't been able to train all week. We talked about that.
I had to take a rest. And I could tell Bo, he was getting a little antsy because I know he loves it being here. And so
yeah.
I just felt bad, but I'm like, man, I got to sit down.
Well, you have to recognize when something is severe enough.
Yeah.
When you have to step away and really let it heal. Right?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially the training that we do and the pressure that I have to put on that front foot
Man,
constantly.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have done something. But no, man, I've been good, man. How you been doing, man? Everything going good?
Man, I'm always, like I said last week, I'm always good, baby.
Yeah.
I'm always good. So another
yeah.
great week. Good time, you know, good classes are great. Business is steady.
That's
you know,
awesome.
we're it's good, man. And I got to see a good friend of mine. We talked about that. I got to see Master Tran this week. So that's awesome. That's one of my mentors.
Shout out to Master Tran.
On the ones and twos. I love to spend time with that man. He's given me so much guidance over the years.
Yeah.
And so just to catch up with him and be around that kind of positivity, man. Just people that elevate you. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then now I get to hang out with you.
We here, man.
So yeah, man. Here. It's a good week. So let's go into the topic.
Let's do it.
This week we decided that we were going to talk about paranormal. Now I don't know if I have the other word for it. I don't know if we would call it paranormal activity or just paranormal in general.
Yeah.
But we talked to the wives, and that was one of the topics that came up. Was just paranormal.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to turn over Jennifer real quick, because right before we get started into like our interpretation of paranormal. I guess Jennifer, can you break down what the like dictionary definition of paranormal is?
So paranormal is purported phenomena that is not able to be explained scientifically.
So see, that covers so much, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of broad because, okay, if you ask me about paranormal, then I would say ghost,
Yeah.
right? But I think that some people, it wraps in like maybe even like aliens or superstition.
I was thinking
or,
about that.
You know?
Think
Yep.
ghosts, think aliens, think like how some people can move objects with their mind, psychics, Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly.
are
All that.
That's paranormal.
Paranormal.
Got
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Got you.
And that's a broad word that you would use. Yeah, exactly. For all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm glad we clarified that because I know a lot of people think when you hear the word paranormal, you automatically think like spirits and ghosts, but
Yeah.
it's actually much broader than that.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
appreciate that.
Well,
Appreciate
and
you
I guess
defining.
basically what Nessa, we were kind of before we started the podcast, she was kind of explaining some things to us, looking some things up, and anything that can't be explained by science,
Yeah.
right, is falls in that category. Yes, yeah, agree.
Okay. We'll take it.
Okay, so that said, I guess we'll go right into what I interpret as paranormal.
Yeah.
Again, just immediately when you say that word, it's ghost.
Yeah.
Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in paranormal activity, as it would, which would be ghost hauntings or ghost presence or ghost.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but now when Jennifer ratted off that list like that, all that stuff. Like I guess I wouldn't have listed Bigfoot as paranormal, but it is paranormal in the dictionary sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Science
So,
can't define it. Yeah.
What about you? Definition paranormal. If I say paranormal, go.
I immediately thought about spirits, but I thought
Okay.
about like evil spirits, not just something that's just broader than that. You know what I mean?
It's
but
funny.
you know what? And
I
good
agree.
spirits, actually. I would say a mixture.
Well, here's the funny thing. I agree with you. I don't know if I hear the word paranormal and think of happy ghosts, like Casper.
Right.
I don't think Casper when I hear paranormal. I think like the movie Paranormal Activity.
Exactly.
I think evil
Exactly.
spirits.
Well, and see, in my interpretation is if you experience that or see something like that or come in interaction with that, first of all, my understanding is they should be rested. Like the spirit should be rested. So there's some sort of unrest already out the gate, in my opinion.
Right.
And there's still this, whatever they're trying to achieve or trying to finish, there's just an unrest. And so, but that shouldn't, I don't know. In my opinion, like in terms of the universe, I'm like that's
why they're left to
happen.
wander. Okay.
That should not happen, but it is happening. And there's a reason why.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense actually, and that's like a what you normally kind of identify. That's what I think.
Right.
Yeah. That you're still here because you did not find peace for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right.
What about angels?
Well, okay. So
oh, you're trying to
right. So
that's positive.
I guess I wouldn't put
positive.
I wouldn't put angels into paranormal. I put angels into like spiritual, right? But now we've kind of wrapped spiritual into paranormal. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say if I saw an angel I would list that as paranormal. You go into divine intervention or you go into like spirituality, right?
Yep.
But it cannot be defined by science, so it would be paranormal.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We understand
Definition.
now that by definition it's wrapped in there, but I would not consider that paranormal to the point that I consider paranormal to be negative, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's just how they've been presented. But to your point, it's always been presented that way, that why they're still here because they have unfinished business, or they're not at ease.
They're not at ease.
They're not at rest.
Yeah.
Or they can't rest in peace. And so I dig that 100%. I think that's exactly what the general consensus would be, right?
Yeah.
Let me take it deeper.
Okay.
Because that's what I do.
I want to.
So I read a book one time, and what it said was that you can prove multiple dimensions. Right. And I don't have anything in front of me to say that that's been proven by science, but we understand that there's a concept, at least I'll call it a concept because I don't have scientific proof right now or something in front of me, that we have multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
Okay. So this book said that because we have multiple dimensions, when you see a ghost, you are actually getting a glimpse into another dimension. So you're not seeing a ghost. You're seeing through dimensions.
Got you.
So that's what ghost encounters is a glimpse into another dimension. And I was like,
mind blown. See, and so my interpretation, we're kind of saying the same thing. It's in terms of what I think of as like the universe and what should be permitted by the definitions of like law and gravity, all that scientific stuff that you attach it to. But there is an absolute flip side to it, where there is an altered portion of the universe does not act accordingly to how the definition should be,
right?
I.e., being able to look
and
into
there's your apparition
universe
due to the fact that
exactly,
right, which by extension makes it paranormal. Oh man, I don't have a sound effect to drop the mic.
Oh
but
man,
maybe we'll add that. I think we'll add that.
We need to program
that'd be fun. Like, yeah, mic drop. That's deep, bro. I dig it, and I think we're on the same page in that sense.
We are, yeah.
So it's some kind of apparition due to some kind of imbalance in the laws that exist.
Exactly.
Right? And so, and we don't know if that's the fact, but that's a good assessment because again, that's something we've learned as we were looking up the definition of paranormal. Is that to what Jennifer was saying in her research? Is that all these different sites all had their own definition of paranormal?
Yeah.
So now you've got a general sense of it, which is very general. It's not explained by science, so it's paranormal.
Yeah.
Now, okay, good. Then anyone can go in and say, well, this is how I view paranormal.
Exactly.
Right? And, I'm going to upset somebody. But from a religious standpoint, there's 68, 69 gospels, however many gospels there are, right? Which in turn spawn multiple religions. This is my interpretation of the gospel. This is your interpretation of the gospel. This is what we believe to be how this is read and blah, blah, blah. So that's how you have different religions, right?
Religion. Yep.
So I guess that's how you have different views on paranormal activity. And then, so that's with anything, right?
I feel you. Yeah. I think so.
So I don't know, man. I think that we covered the definition like extensively.
I think so.
Right. And I don't know the listeners what you might believe, right? Now excuse me, I jumped the gun. It was supposed to be your definition. Now we're past the definition. Let's talk about belief, right? Belief. Excuse me. So, do you believe in paranormal activity?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And the reason why I do is because I remember I've experienced something before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was in, I want to say I was in middle school, and I remember me and Jason, we were staying with my oldest brother and his wife on MLK Boulevard. And when we were staying there, we all kind of knew something was going on, but no one really talked about it until there was a couple of situations that happened. So the first situation was, I remember my oldest brother was asleep. Everyone was asleep in the house, actually. And he yelled out in the middle of the night, "Stop running around." Like as if someone was running around in the house. Okay. And it woke everybody up, and we were just like, what the heck? So then you fast forward a couple of days later, I was sleeping on the couch, and I remember the TV was on, and I was half awake, half sleep. And I just remember seeing a kid, and my eyes were halfway open. And I remember the physical part, which was he kind of grabbed the side of my rib and twisted it. And I felt it, and it woke me up, and then boom, it was gone. And then the third time, I'll never forget this, because I always babysat my niece Janisha. What's going on? Uncle loves you. But you never knew about this. All but right. I remember the other time I was sleeping on the couch, and I think Nene was like on the far end of the couch because it was a long couch. And I just remember waking up because I thought I heard something in the kitchen, and the way the living room is positioned, you can see right into the kitchen. So it's kind of like open concept, but there was still a portion of the wall that didn't kind of show the stove and all that, but you could see like the fridge, and then there's a counter where the sink is.
Okay.
Well, I seen like a glimpse of, looks like a little kid. hanging out, just kicking his legs back and forth. And I lost it. So I lost it. And so get this. So the next day, I told my oldest brother and his wife, I said, hey, there's a freaking kid in here and it's a ghost. And they were like, yo, you seen it too? Or you've heard it too? Like, so we were all like on the same page that there is an unrest spirit and it's a kid in the house. Okay. And so we told my mom about it, and and she came over and prayed over the house and was just kind of just trying to give that unrested spirit an opportunity to go where you need to go, but you don't belong here. And so my mom kind of prayed something like that, just giving an opportunity of passage to wherever you're trying to get, because obviously you're stuck, i.e. kind of like what we talked about when we all defined it. Right. Yeah, so you're not at peace. And I remember my mother did that, and then the next day, like it was like calm. It was like a most interesting euphoric experience. So that's why I believe that in paranormal activity is a thing, because and that's the only time I've actually experienced anything like that. Now I've like watched scary movies, of course. And I would, be freaking the hell out and be wondering like, is something underneath my bed? That type of stuff. But actually experiencing it, that's my story.
Man, listen, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I don't have anything close to that. Like
really?
I really cannot think of a single encounter. Now, man, I really don't have one. Now, I don't want to give away what we're about to talk about, but my wife, Jennifer, who's here, used to be a paranormal investigator.
Yep, that's right.
So you remember that?
Oh yeah.
And so I've seen evidence. I never wanted to look at her evidence because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I don't. Ignorance is bliss, right? And I had never had an encounter that I can recall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now I have stories. I have a few stories that I'm going to share that, again, not directly with me.
Yeah.
So one being with my wife being a paranormal investigator, I just, I didn't want to see that. And she became paranormal because she became obsessed with this show called Ghost Hunters. And then there was
I remember Ghost Hunters.
Remember Ghost Hunters? It was super big. And then what was the other one? Ghost Adventures, Paranormal State. So then she got curious and
I think there's like Paranormal Activity now.
Right. So then, So my wife's very intelligent. So she just did her research, and then she joined a paranormal society.
You went all in.
Yeah.
He was a board member and everything, huh?
Paranormal group.
Yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, she learned how to investigate, and I'm going to let her touch on that too.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of investigations I remember specifically, and it really freaked me out. And is it okay to talk about these, or did you want to share?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So so I was like, nah, man, I'm not doing it. And I'll never forget this, because our neighbor one time said she wanted to, because people would always contact me and be like, hey man, can I go on an investigation with your wife? Because they just wanted
they wanted to know.
Right. And I was like, okay, cool. And then our neighbor, she always wanted to do it, but her husband would not allow her to do it, because he was of my mindset. He's like, no, I don't want her bringing that juju back into my house. Right. So I kind of mentioned that to Jennifer, but Jennifer would sit there for hours after an investigation and go through her materials, video, sound. So 3 things I remember. Okay. 1, she did this flashlight. And so you have to have a specific flashlight so that it's not like a glitch. You ever have a flashlight where you screw it on, but if it's like not screwed all the way, it can turn on by itself?
Flickers.
Yeah, it flickers. Exactly. Yep. So you have to get a flashlight. And Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to get a flashlight that has a compressor. Like a button they have to compress. So it can't just flicker.
No, we would use the mag lights that you twist on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it has to be a specific kind that can't be tampered with by accident. Okay. So it was one of her employees at the time asked her to investigate her house. So Jennifer went in there and did the investigation. She was recording, and she asked the spirit to turn on the light, the flashlight. And she had the flashlight sitting around. She's recording it. Mm-hmm. And she starts talking, and I'm going to be honest, that's the hardest part I have with those shows. And even with watching my wife do it is that, if there's a spirit in the room, show me that you're here kind of thing. Man, I hope I'm not bringing anything into this
Yeah.
room. But, you know, and so I always struggled with that because there would be people who were over the top when Jennifer and I would watch it, and they were like, I felt something. And, you know, they would start acting out, and I just felt like it was just attention.
Yeah.
Jennifer never presented herself that way in her videos, but it just, I had a bad stigma because of those kind of people, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're just looking for attention. Like if I want to feel something, then I can tell my mind that I feel something, and then I will feel something.
And then you'll feel
because
something.
I want to be in that moment to be able to say something.
Exactly.
So then it becomes a matter of having a spirit interact with an inanimate object, not inanimate, but an object that, you know, is not organic. Okay. So she has the flashlight on the ground, and she says, turn on this flashlight to prove that you're here. And nothing. And she starts saying something again. She says, if you're here, prove to us and turn on this flashlight. And the damn flashlight turned on, man. And so that freaked me out.
Oh my God.
So I asked her what kind of flashlight.
My heart is beating really fast, actually.
I make her show me the flashlight because I'm like, man, there's a glitch. It's, you know, and no. So then I'm like, all right, man, Jennifer. And then I walk out of the room. I used to do this all. She'd get a kick. She'd always laugh. I'm like, I don't want to see this shit.
Yeah.
I'd walk out of the room. I was like, I don't want to see this. Why don't you show me this stuff? And she'd be like, come over here. Let me show you something. I don't want to see this shit.
I'm trying to sleep
Or I
at
had
night.
you listen to the EVPs and ask what you heard.
So that's another one. So then
gosh.
she has, it's what's the thing with the radio stations that?
A spirit box.
So it's called a spirit box.
Okay.
So it just constantly cycles between radio stations. Never settling on a radio station, right?
Okay.
So have you ever watched Transformers or like Bumblebee, the Bumblebee movie?
Yeah.
So in the Bumblebee movie, Bumblebee can't talk.
Yeah.
So he can only use the radio. So he uses the radio to kind of communicate. He goes, hello.
Yeah.
My name is, that. Okay. So in the spirit box, it's going like this. Just the needle's flickering. Jennifer asks a question, and she's recording the needle box, and it goes like this. I am here. Dude, I ran out the room again. Like, stop showing me this shit.
Oh my
God. I got so upset.
If we had a camera in here, y'all would have seen my facial expression looking at Brad.
I thought I was bugging because it's going like this.
No way.
And the way it did it, it's like they picked the station like, I am here.
Oh,
yeah, man.
No.
So that was number 2. Okay. And then there's orbs, and that goes deeper than I ever really got into it. But, you know, she shows me pictures, and she tried to explain to me what orbs are and all these different things. And she says, there's an orb, there's this, there's that. Then, of course, I was able to let go of all the creepy stuff because then there was just funny videos of Jennifer in like an abandoned barn, and my sister-in-law with her running away, and it's like something just startled, like something fell off the roof, and then it just became funny to watch the videos.
Yeah.
Heather, I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but there was one where Heather's like, Jennifer, let's get out of here. Jennifer's like, just stay. Look, we got to investigate, blah, blah. She's like, I want to go now. And then they just start running through this grass field, and she's like, no. And it was like, just, you could tell it was something fell off the side of the barn, but it freaked her out. And then it's just a camera, like in the movies. Yeah. So those videos kind of made it fun to watch. It was like, okay, that was funny. And Jennifer would kind of be giggling. It was nothing. Come back with me. No, take me home.
No, I'm good.
You know, but yeah, there was one other that I don't recall right now, but those 2 really freaked me out.
Okay.
Right? And then the other part of my life that puts me into kind of this realm, but again, never having a direct thing. And I want to be clear that I'm not inviting these things. I don't want to have an experiance. So don't,
that's right.
You know, don't come around.
This is
Ain't
not
nobody
an invitation.
Yeah. No one's asking for it. Okay?
Yeah. And we ain't going to get it.
And I don't want to get it.
The spirit's going to be like, but you going to get it though.
No, I got to find something to knock on.
Yeah.
Okay. So, my grandfather on my mom's side, so I'm half Filipino. My grandfather is an Abaladio. So most people won't know what that is. So an Abaladio is a mystic healer. So in the village, my family's from Tacloban and Leyte, which is an island in the Philippines. In the village, my Lola was the midwife. So she delivered everyone's babies in the village. Okay. And my grandfather was the doctor, basically, which is a witch doctor. He was the healer. Okay. So there's no medicine. It's you know, we're talking grass huts. Like when I went to learn about my roots and went out there, like bamboo hut, rice fields, you know, carabao. We talked about carabao. Yeah. You know,
no power lines to call somebody.
Carrying a bucket to a well, you know, those kind of things. Yeah. So he was the mystic healer. So my mom she told me stories, and she was like on All Saints, is it All Saints Day or the Holy Week or whatever? He would go sit in the church and like hang on the cross and do all these things. And he would just spend his whole day there. And then I started to research that, and it turns out he was gathering power for his mystic healing. So my mom says she's seen him do things like he writes a prayer on a piece of paper when a baby was turned upside down, and he put the paper on the belly and turned the paper, and the baby turned. And then my Lola was able to deliver the baby. People would have pain. He would write and these are called oration, is the prayer that you write. Right? He'd write it out, put it on it, the pain go away. He'd take it and eat it. And so he'd take the pain away.
Got you.
And then, so I learned all these stories when I'm a kid.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, people are like, my grandfather was a lawyer.
Yeah.
my grandfather was a mechanic. No, my grandfather was a witch doctor.
Yeah.
Like he's the abuladio. So then, my Lola, you remember? So Jennifer and I are sitting up late with my Lola one night, and she's telling us stories, and it freaked us out that we couldn't sleep. Remember? So she's telling us about how, she goes deeper. My mom tells me stories about my mom. So my mom and Lola are sitting there, and Lola's telling us, he's magic. She's convinced. Okay. And she said that he could disappear. She's like, no, my mom's like, yeah, he disappeared behind a stick. And you're like, this is some rural backwoods, like in the boonies, jungle type stuff, right?
Yeah.
But they're telling us, no, he can disappear behind a stick. He can be invisible. He can do all these things. And I did research. I got curious. So, because when I used to be a writer, I was going to write a story about it, and I looked into it. And actually, what that was is there was a prayer or a spell where he could make you go blind.
Oh, shoot.
So it wasn't that he disappeared. He would make you not see him. So there was actual documentation on all these Abuladios and Horatians and all this stuff where these were spells, right? And so there's dark magic on that side where, and this is dark, man, but for the dark side of that Abuladios, they would drink the fluid from aborted fetuses.
Oh.
Right. Now, my grandfather being the light side, that's why he spent all his time in the church on those holy weeks.
Yeah.
Was to gather power from the spirits.
Yeah.
So that he can help people, right?
Wow.
So, and it's crazier. It gets crazier. So then my mom says that he needs to pass it on to his oldest child, which is my mom. So then it's called Agimat or something. Agimat. I think.
Yeah.
And that's a talisman. Okay. So his talisman was his book, because he opened the book, and the blank pages he would write the prayers, and that's how he healed people.
Okay.
Right? So my mom said he came to her in a dream. You remember this, Jennifer, because this freaked us out. Came to her in a dream vividly and told her where he buried the book so she could find it and carry his mantle, right? And take over his Agimat. And so she said she goes, and she couldn't even talk about it. She was shaking. She was scared. She's like, it just gives me the willies. I can't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? And this is like something she never shared until I was like 35 at the time or something.
Oh my gosh.
She just happened to be, it was like late night camp stories. Like my Lola started by telling us all the magic he had.
Yeah.
And then my mom just kind of was like, no, it freaked me out. And then she said that she never went and got it because it's a life of poverty.
Oh.
Right? And she didn't want that life for herself, because you have to surrender everything. You're basically poor, and you're just there to do for others. You're there to heal others, and you can't have anything.
Got
right?
you. Okay.
And so she's like, I didn't want that life.
Mm-hmm.
And when she explained that, I was just like, yo, man, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
So that's very, Filipinos, Asians, we are extremely superstitious and spiritual and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then my dad is from Louisiana.
Yeah.
So we're black on that side, and that's all like voodoo superstition. We were in Louisiana. We went to on a ghost tour, and we went to a voodoo.
Y'all did that?
Yeah.
That was fun.
I think I remember.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And they don't mess around with their ghost stories out there. We were going into like mausoleums and like all these crazy stuffs.
Gosh.
And then on top of that, we met up in a voodoo shop. We had to meet the tour guide in a voodoo shop. So we're in a voodoo shop and everything. So, my dad's superstitious.
Yeah.
Right. From the South. And so when he moved to Asia, he fit right in.
Oh, wow.
My dad, because he took on it was easy for him to accept
to
their
understand
superstition,
their
their
level.
cultural beliefs,
Yeah.
their level of spiritual belief.
Yep.
Because he grew up Catholic and from the South, and they had all these beliefs. And so him and my mom would gang up on us and don't do this. And I remember one time I got spanked for stepping over my baby sister.
Oh.
So I stepped over her, and my mom spanked me, and my dad said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I thought maybe I stepped on her.
Oh.
I said, no. They said, step back over her. I said, why? Because she won't grow.
Oh.
What? Man, and it's those kind of rules that
Yeah.
aren't like
You're
general, like don't touch the stove, it's hot. No, don't step over this. Don't do this after midnight.
Yeah.
Like gremlin rules. Like
Yeah,
there's all this stuff, but it made my life interesting culturally, right? And open. It gave me a very open mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But all that said, you know, growing up in that environment and having such an open mind about it, I still never had my own experience, which I don't need. I don't need to believe.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mainly because the way I was raised Catholic, different things. And again, the beliefs my parents have, and just it's just easy for me to have an open mind about these things.
Yeah.
I didn't have to have an experience to have that.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
But that's so interesting because I've known you so long, and I guess
Yeah.
we've never talked about paranormal.
We've
stuff,
never
but
talked about it.
You've never shared that you had
Yeah.
such a vivid. That's a vivid
Oh yeah.
experience.
I remember.
Right? That's so deep, man. That said, now we've talked about our belief.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our experiences.
Now, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it over to my wife. I'm turning it over to Jennifer because, as I mentioned, Jennifer used to be a paranormal investigator. So Jennifer, like, why don't you elaborate? What? I don't think you ever explained to me. I just thought you were into that show, and so you got into it. Now, before I turn it over, when I first met Jennifer, she was already into spiritual stuff because when we first started dating, she gave me a tarot card reading.
Oh
Yeah.
my golly, Wally!
And so it was I thought she was trying to seduce me. Let me set the scene.
Really?
Because I
What
walked,
cards
she
were
was
laid
in my
out?
room. She goes, I'm going to set it up for you to do
Okay.
the reading. And I walked in and there was candles. And I was like, I don't think I had candles. Where did candles come
Yeah.
from? And then she's sitting on my bed, like cross-legged, and she has these cards laid out. And I'm like, you're trying to seduce me?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I see sex in your future.
Well, let's go.
You see correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
2020, baby. No, but yeah, it was very interesting. And then I was like, I think that's one of the moments. You have these moments where you fall in love with someone.
Yeah, yeah.
Those were one of the moments because like, oh my God, she has such an open mind to this. She won't think my family's crazy.
Yeah. That's what you were thinking about. Like,
Right.
this is going to be perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Now she did fall out of that because again, she's just open minded, but she has a curious spirit, so she goes in those directions. And then when she found God again and was going to church and everything, but it actually, if I remember, it coincided with your when you started going back into religion. Your paranormal investigating coincided with that.
Yeah.
So again, I apologize, but I'm gonna turn over to Jennifer. Like, walk us through what started to get you into that.
So I had a similar story like yours, Justin.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, when we were younger, it was my brother and my sister and I. We grew up in the same house, and we would all see stuff and hear stuff in the house and have our own experiences. And we all knew or agreed that there was a spirit in the house, and it was a I wouldn't say bad or evil, but he was not friendly. And then there were little children. So in one bedroom upstairs, there was a spirit that would kind of torment you and pick on you. And then in the room next door, there were little kids that you would see or hear. And I remember when my brother became a teenager and he got to move downstairs into another room, he was so happy to be free of that bedroom. And so I moved into that room, and then I began experiencing the same things that he was. So one of the things that happened to both of us were we would see a figure in the door. So if you had the door cracked a little bit and happened to look over in the middle of the night or in the day, you would see a silhouette of a figure peeking in at you.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
I specifically remember one night I was sleeping and I woke up and I felt something pressing down on me on the bed and I couldn't move. Yeah, and they say that is, I can't remember the word for it now. It'll come to me in a minute. But a lot of people experience that because when you go to sleep, your brain kind of turns off your muscle movement, so you become kind of paralyzed, so you don't, do too much in your sleep. So if your brain wakes up while that part's asleep, you'll feel like you're being held down and you can't move.
Okay.
However, when you're in that state and you can sense something on top of you or in your room, it makes it really weird. So I'm not 100% sure, but that happened to my brother in that room, and it happened to me. And then my sister, she would see little kids playing in her room, and sometimes I would see them outside in the hallway. And we just had so many things happen in that house.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, if there's a breeze in your house, a door, it'll shut a door.
Yeah.
That would happen a lot on just that room, and there's no doors open, and we'd just all be sitting as a family, like in the kitchen or in the living room, and then wham, you'd hear the door slam shut. And so we'd all go investigate to figure out why the door shut, and we couldn't figure out why. So those kind of things would happen. So all through growing up, we just kind of had an open mind. We knew these things would happen.
Like, this is a thing.
Yeah, we just, it just, like, the paranormal was just real.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We in our my parents' new house, we, like, I don't know if spirits follow you or if, one thing I do want to say though, is I believe wholeheartedly that you have kind of like your third eye. There's a door in your mind that keeps you open to these things that can happen.
Yeah.
And if you open that door and you allow those thoughts to come into your mind, then you will see these things happen. And I believe, like Rad, that door is shut in your mind, so you're not open to visually seeing these things or experiencing them. Like you know it may happen, but you have that door shut because you do not want to expose yourself to that.
I don't. I'm good. Like, I'm okay with it's kind of like, I might believe in Bigfoot, but I don't need to see him.
Yeah.
I don't need him to like jump on the roof of my car or like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew it. Thank God I came out here looking for you. Like,
my name is Daryl.
Guys, sorry, I've been lost for days.
You got some pizza.
Oh man.
Anyone got water? But
growing up, that's how I was just open to it.
Yeah.
And then when the popularity of the ghost hunter shows, where they would go through investigations and record EVPs, which are voice phenomenon, electronic voice phenomenon. Electronic voice phenomenon. So if they would get anything on video or on an EVP, they would try to debunk it. That's what Ghost Hunters was really good for, is they would try to scientifically prove it.
See, I appreciate that, because it wasn't about validating that they exist.
Exactly.
Some of the other shows Jennifer watched, it was all about like, this is proof that they exist. These guys were like, no. Like, my house is haunted. No, it's not. We were able to prove that this is what's causing this is what's causing that.
Yeah.
And then when they couldn't prove something, that's when it was a great episode, because then you were like, oh my God. And they were like, we don't have an answer.
Yeah, we don't have an answer.
That's when it was interesting, because you knew they would go out of their way to disprove it. And when they couldn't prove that it wasn't a ghost, then that's when but they never said it. Oh, it must be a spirit. They were just like, we just can't prove that it's not. We don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is. Yeah.
And I always thought that was so fun to watch those shows.
Yeah.
And then once, let's see, I think it was about 2008, Facebook started to take off and those shows were going. So you could find people on Facebook that had the same interest as you. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I went ghost hunting and I actually did that?
Yeah.
So I did find a small group that was in Colorado, and we would discuss different places that we could go and investigate. And I was all in. I wanted all the equipment. They didn't have anything. I think that they would just kind of maybe record stuff, but nothing with a video or with the recorders. So I went and got a spirit box, which scans radio stations. I went and got an EMF detector.
Oh my gosh.
And that was...
You invested.
Yeah, I invested.
You're like, I'm taking this step.
And with the EMF detector, the spirit box, and what else did I have? I think that was pretty much all we had. And so we would...
No, can I share real quick?
Break it down.
Jennifer had this little backpack that she kept all her little ghost hunting equipment in, and she called it her proton pack.
Yeah.
Oh,
how cute is that?
Gosh, proton.
She's like, I need my proton pack. I'm going on an investigation. And you know what was also in the proton pack?
What was that?
A switchblade.
Oh, shoot. Oh, you was ready to get down.
Well, because I said, I don't like you going out to these places at night.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's not safe. And she's like, oh, I have this. And then she, did you get that at the Christian store?
I don't know.
Because it was a switchblade with a big cross design,
a religious
design on it.
No, it has a dragon on it.
What was the one that had the? cross on it?
I don't know. I don't think I have one.
Oh, well, I guess she was ready to stick somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's
We
late
got a
at
problem?
night. We're,
Right.
we're out in the middle of
Right, well,
sometimes
And
nowhere.
I told her
Yeah.
to carry something because I was like,
Please
she didn't have
do.
mace or anything, and like,
Yeah.
she would contact authorities prior to going places. She'd be like, she'd call the local authorities and say,
That's
I'm going to be
smart.
investigating Columbine. She actually did, and I'll let you touch on that. Or city. What was the park in Denver that you did?
Cheeseman Park.
Cheeseman Park.
Cheeseman
And so
Park's
she called the
popular,
police
yep.
and said, I'm going to be here doing an investigation after hours. And they were like, okay, good. Thanks for letting us know. If we see someone, we know it's you.
Yeah.
So she was very like professional about it.
Good.
Yeah, and anything that we recorded, like any video, pictures we took, or EMF things that we recorded that we couldn't explain, I posted it on my YouTube channel.
Oh.
It is Jenny KX, all one word. So if you want to go check those out, but
Message.
message
That's a plug.
Oh, that's a plug.
plug. So where was I going with all that? Oh, so after we had investigated a few places, some of those situations were kind of iffy, and my sister and I got into it. And yeah, a lot of people would say, hey, I want to go investigate with you, but as soon as I'm like, okay, I'm going tonight to this place, nobody's around.
You're like,
Nobody wants to go. Never mind.
Not that fast.
Never mind. But it's pretty cool. There's a lot of things that happen that I couldn't explain, but I'm still kind of skeptical.
Okay.
Even though we've investigated and I've had things happen. Sometimes I think, well, like with if you take a picture and there's an orb, some people really believe in orbs that you can see a spirit in a picture.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that they're just dust particles or bugs. But sometimes you get. I would always take 2 or 3 pictures of the exact same things, and just so I could, if I did catch a bug or a piece of dust or something, I'd be able to say,
you can frame back.
Yeah, I can go back.
Yeah.
And there are some things I took pictures of that I just can't explain what it is, because sometimes it could look like a figure. There's some EVP recordings that we would capture, like the most compelling one that I ever took was using my spirit box, and we were asking it questions, and we asked, how did you die? And it clearly said, after sweeping, I think 5 radio channels, it said all in the same voice, I was strangled. And,
oh my god.
And it's like, there's no way that over 5 radio stations could you get the same exact voice and tone to say a complete sentence.
Oh my god.
And, just like Rad was saying, when you like Bumblebee, you can tell it's like different voices.
They're
like,
piecing it together.
Yeah, it's pieced from different radio stations.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really strange. That one is on my YouTube channel, by the way. So if you want to hear that.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, it was an interesting time, man.
Yeah.
And like most things, like you kind of, I don't want to speak for Jennifer, but you outgrow it, or you move on to different interests.
I wouldn't say I outgrew it,
right?
But I felt like it was a very difficult time in my life during that point, because I was seeking something.
You were searching for
in
something.
life, yeah.
Yeah.
I was into the paranormal. I was trying to go to church. I was doing therapy. I was on medication, and I was in like 100 different directions.
Yeah,
and I had a lot of like negative dreams, very spooky things happen to me in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I thought I need to shut this door and not let it affect me anymore. So I kind of closed the door on paranormal activity and didn't seek it any further, just to eliminate that as a negative force in my life.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So would you say that the spirit box situation, was that your most scariest and most in the current state, like when you were doing the investigations, like in that time length of you doing those investigations, was that the scariest moment?
Yeah, what was the scariest
Or what
moment?
was the scariest moment?
I think the scariest moment was when my sister and I went to that barn out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh,
I didn't mean to make fun of that, man, but that was...
It was really scary.
It was funny. I guess I wasn't there, but it was funny, like the footage and the sounds. Because they would do a video, they'd record, but then it also records sound.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes you don't have the video.
So you just hear us running.
Well,
Break it down. What happened though? Give us an A to Z really quick here.
So we would look for abandoned like barns or property that we
don't say where. Don't say where because you're probably trespassing.
Yeah, I was gonna say we probably shouldn't have because we were probably on someone's property.
Right.
But we weren't doing anything, to the property. But we found an abandoned, and I say it's abandoned because it looked like nobody had taken care of it, and the roof was starting to come down. Well, not come down, but you could tell that it was just old. So we went in and we sat inside the barn and. There was like I don't know, what do you call it? A catwalk up above?
Sure.
Okay. So we were in the barn and, you can go up in the top or the attic of the barn. And we heard like voices and footsteps, like clunk, clunk, clunk.
Oh, shoot.
Clunk, clunk. And it totally freaked my sister out, and her freaking out freaked me out. And so she was like, saying that she wanted to go, and I'm like, just give it a couple more minutes. Hold on, wait a minute, because we never had anything, physically hurt us in any of our investigations. So I wasn't scared of something happening. The only thing I was ever scared of was something attaching to me and coming home with me.
That's what I always feared, was that she would bring something home.
Oh my gosh!
So we heard the banging, we heard the clanking, and it wasn't. Windy or anything like that. So there's like different things you could say, well, what about this? What about that? And we kind of thought about all that, like what's causing this noise? It could have been another animal up there, but it was just too loud. It was like someone wearing, boots on a wood floor, walking around. And so when she started, she grabbed me and said, we're going. And there was like shutters on the side of the barn. And as soon as we decided we were gonna haul ass out of there, the shutter went bam.
I remember.
It either flew open or flew shut. I can't remember, but then that just startled us more, and we're like, ah.
That's the part I heard. So I thought something fell off, and I just hear them. Well, because all the way leading up, I hear Heather scared and begging Jennifer to turn around, and then I just hear them running, and then you see the video, and it just looks like something out of the Blair Witch Project. You just see grass, and they're just like, wait for me.
Oh man! So you were like, this was the funniest one, but Jen was like, that's actually the scariest moment we've done.
Oops. I mean, it's kind of funny thinking of us running away, but. I do have a couple of situations where it was the best evidence that I had, because that's what I was always looking for was evidence. One was that spirit box session with the one saying that they were strangled.
Yeah.
My dad liked to do it, and when we were testing out the spirit box, we did it at his house, and we were asking, I don't remember what we asked, but we heard my name, my brother's name, and my sister's name all through the spirit box. I don't remember. I
remember you
them.
Testing that at Dad's house.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We heard Mike, Jenny, Heather. It said all of our names, and we're like, oh crap. And then when I did that,
it's like as if the spirit knew you guys.
Yes, like it was confirming who we are. And I think we asked, like, do you know my name? And then they said all of our names.
Oh wow!
And then the third one that was the best evidence was when we did my coworker's house, and because she said that there was a spirit in her house, so she didn't know if it was good or bad. She just wanted us to kind of get some information, and we would sit on our investigations. We would take the EMF detector, we would take the EVP recorder, and then a flashlight, and we would take the mag light and we would loosen it up just enough so it's off, but if you tapped it or disturbed it at all, it would turn on. That way we thought, well, if there's a spirit there and they can manipulate the object, they could turn it on, turn off. And we would set all three together, and then we would record it. And the best evidence we had was was at her house, and we had all three set up, and the EMF detector. And the EMF detector wouldn't steadily go off that often, but in this location, we would ask it a question, and it would actually register a peak reading, and it would beep. So I don't know how to explain it if you've never used an EMF detector. Sometimes it would register, weird anomalies while you're just sitting there. But for it to respond to us, to questions, and actually peek and beep.
Wow.
That was really, really good.
Yeah.
A really good interaction with something paranormal.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So all that.
Yeah. And a bag of chips.
Right. So obviously we all have a relationship with the paranormal.
Yeah.
Right. Nope. Take that. Strike that. I don't want to say we have a relationship. I don't want to introduce that or invite that. We've all had experiences.
An experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To some extent. I haven't had a direct one and I don't plan on it. But I would say
You're like,
that-
how does Tuesday sound?
Right. No, busy forever.
Yeah.
Like, let me check. We never open. Never. So, but that said, I definitely believe it's just I'm not,
Yeah.
and I don't want to call people who don't believe small minded. To Jennifer's point, if the door's shut, keep it shut. Okay.
Yeah.
We got enough
better
to
lock
deal
that.
with. Right. I got to deal with the normal, let alone
Yeah,
the paranormal,
man.
Yeah.
or I got to deal
My
with
gosh.
abnormal people. Like, and when I say abnormal people, I mean these, people that just I don't consider to be normal due to
Yeah.
whatever stupidity or differing opinions.
Yeah.
That's kind of jerky, but you get what I'm saying.
Would you like some statistics?
Oh,
Okay.
shoot.
That said, let's lead into the next part. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Stat line.
So 45%, this is as of last year, 45% of Americans believe that ghosts and demons exist. More than 1 in 5 say that demons definitely exist, but only 22% believe that they probably exist.
So
that's a-
45% believe in demons and spirits, but only 22% believe in demons.
that they demons definitely do exist.
Oh, that's a bigger number than I would have expected.
That's really
Yeah,
high.
so about half.
Oh, my gosh.
I feel like so that's good to hear actually, because honestly, man, I feel like you gotta open your mind to a lot of things. You don't want to go so far on one end to where you start to blame outside physical or non-living things on your decisions or the life you live, to say that I'm being held back because of this or I can't cope because of that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound callous in saying that, but I just as long as it doesn't become that to where it stops you from living this life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So, but I think it's good to have an open mind. Just because it just open, I think open mind and open heart, right? So you open yourself up to those things, and I think you're just overall a little more respectful of things.
Oh,
right?
yeah. And I wonder if it was difficult for you, Jen, to shut that off because you're, in terms of like desensitizing yourself, like you somewhat understand like this is an absolute thing. I could see people getting so like wrapped up in the fear that it's difficult to shut that door rather than just shutting it just to shut it. But it's like, no, I know this is real. And, some people would say they have spirits following them or obsessed with it.
Yes.
Did you struggle shutting the door or was it just
what a good point.
Yeah, that is a good question. I did for a while because it became not addicting, but it became kind of like a hobby to search for evidence and for different,
Would you call it a passion?
Yeah, I guess maybe a passion. Yeah, because I was always looking for something that could prove that there was something else. And when I would have those instances, it felt so great and rewarding. And then once I kind of pushed it away, with some of the negative things that happen, like me waking up in the middle of the night and having a terrible nightmare, it was easy to try to shut that door.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I ever realized, like, once I shut it, I don't know.
I think it's good that you did. I mean, I remember the insomnia you had back then.
Yeah.
And that was due to a lot of factors. But to your point, it was just compounding with
That's
everything
kind of what I
else.
did because I had such bad insomnia.
Wow.
Yeah, she would get up and just disappear at 2:00 in the morning and go on an investigation. I wouldn't know where she was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it got weird. And then I would text her and then she'd be like, because I didn't want her going through her evidence in the house. So she'd be sitting in the driveway or on the street. So she's not in the house. And she would be going through her evidence in the car.
Oh.
Like watching the videos and listening to the recordings because I didn't want it in the house.
Yeah.
Right? And so then she'd be out there till 8, 9 a.m. And then I'd get up and say, okay, I got to go to the gym. And
Oh
I'd be
my
like, so because she
gosh.
just was like, well, I can't sleep, so I'm just going to go on an investigation. So it got that stuff. It started to get really weird,
Yeah.
and uncomfortable, and so I'm glad that kind of just found its way out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a, and I don't want to be dismissive, man, but I think as a whole, the whole paranormal investigating thing became a novelty due to that rise of that show and those shows. I'd love to know it. I don't think it's as vibrant of a community as it was during that phase, that decade of Ghost Hunters, Paranormal State, Ghost Adventures. I think Ghost Adventures is still on.
Yeah.
I mean, it was to the point where there's Paranormal Cops.
Yeah.
There was Paranormal Cops. It just got more and more and more out. I wouldn't say outrageous, but it just started expanding more.
All those shows.
Yeah,
But there
the
are
shows.
still small groups.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I don't think there's as many groups in general as there were at the peak of the popularity of those shows.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, and I'm not trying to be dismissive, because if you are a believer, then you would still be in a community right now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not talking to you if I'm saying this.
Yeah.
Okay?
Or think about this.
Okay.
Think about this. And I'm going to throw this out there. It's definitely far-fetched, but I even think on the aspect of understanding that paranormal activity is absolutely a thing. And when you think about like the churches, Catholics, there's structural setups.
Yeah.
And they report off of these information because, you're a steward of people that are believers and things of that nature.
Okay.
As one pillar of information that is being received and trickled up.
Right.
Absolutely, religious people are tied into government. And, there are those conversations.
Yeah.
What if at one point we've reached an epidemic, not a pandemic, but an epidemic of experiences causing people to, go crazy, mental asylum, as a portion of people in those mental asylums. So one way to address it is through your social content. Can we desensitize everybody enough to where they may not go that crazy, but because we're putting it on TV and they can see it, and they can actually develop a fear of digesting to understand it without
tolerance.
mentally a level of tolerance.
Yes, okay.
And so it's a push out of all of this just so that it can help us somewhat ease our mind that
it does
hey,
exist.
y'all, this exists, but we're going to go ahead and trying to socially not numb you, but get much more sensitive to what's happening.
Either more
Yes, I totally agree.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yes,
Am I
I
making
get
sense
you.
here?
Yo, man, you see this?
Yeah.
You just got deep, man.
Oh my God. Hey, so if you guys can't see this, so my boy Rad, he puts a circle up and then there's nothing down there and he said, you just got deep.
Yeah, you just got deep. You see this? Man, yeah, no.
That's what
Shank, that's
I know.
I like it.
I know.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
That could be argued that a lot of things on TV is just to numb us.
Well, here's the
Come
thing.
on now.
Predictive
I'm going to go
programming.
Come on now.
I'm going to go more controversial, not controversial, but political in the sense that what you're saying makes total sense because now the degree of violence, okay, as far as people willing to kill each other, the shootings that have been happening in our area, and just like, I'm not going to say they didn't happen before, but at this clip, the ability for people, the violence. Now, I always told Jennifer that I always believed that violent people, crazy people, always existed. You just didn't know, right? In the Western days, maybe this guy was a serial killer. He's burying bodies on his ranch property. No one would ever find out.
Yeah.
So you just didn't know these people existed, right?
Yeah.
And now we just know they exist. But I think that given our exposure, right? We're not protected anymore where we were. Like when we were kids, there was panels to protect cartoons, what was being shown, what was being shown on TV. Now it's just the internet just blew the lid off of everything. And we can see all these violent things. The violence you can see on TV now is crazy, and it desensitizes us to violence, right? To where back in the day, when I was a teenager, the most gruesome thing you could do is get your hands on a VHS tape called Faces of Death. And there was 4 of them.
God!
And if you got that, we would all sit and try to sit in someone's house and the parents weren't home and watch it. And we couldn't even sit through some guy eating monkey brains.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't sit through. It was just like, I remember one of the things on the video was a guy getting hit by an ambulance. And we were like, oh my God. Now it's like,
I see that on Twitter every day.
I can pull that up on Twitter right now. Like basically a compilation video.
It's
of
no
everyone who
longer
got,
a gate to that information. It's
not,
open.
It's not shocking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So has it desensitized people to where they're more open to violence? Like they don't feel consequence from it, like severe consequence, right?
Yep.
I mean, I can't speak for these people. If they have an act of violence and they feel bad afterwards, then I can't speak to them. But their willingness to commit that violence might come easier because of their exposure to it. So that's not on the subject we were on, but I agree with you that the more exposure we get, like, so now we see all these shows and we see all this stuff in paranormal, spiritual, all these things. And so if anything was to happen, it would be more easily accepted.
Exactly.
Right? To your point, if I was in the 50s, I watched this movie on Amazon that was highly praised. What was that movie I was watching where it was set in the 50s and it was like it was an alien encounter. And so back then you were crazy. So those things didn't happen, and if it did, you were crazy. You were crazy,
right? Yeah.
So now,
what was that?
I don't remember, but let's just say Fire in the Sky, like that. That movie and those experiences where back then those things just weren't commonplace, right? So it's like you're psychotic. You need to go see somebody, or you're losing your mind. Yeah. Now, if someone says something like that, they would be hailed as like a knower, like a celebrity. Wow, they would be interviewed by everyone. They'd be put on. They'd be put online, and people would be asking them questions because we're more open-minded to those things.
Exactly.
So, man, you touched on something, man.
I think I did.
I agree with you on
did, man. Yeah.
So, do you believe, since the government released the Pentagon released those unidentified flying objects recently this year, or they were re-released, I believe, but do you think that they're preparing us for?
I think there's a social numbing effort that's going on. I do think that because of like what you mentioned with the military releasing those videos. Well, think about it. Prior to that being released, there was just this influx of alien and unidentified objects in movies and floating of aircrafts. So when you ask yourself the question, like, when I seen this, was I shocked? No. Yeah. I wasn't shocked because I'm already tuned mentally by what I've seen on TV or through some movies. Version of it. Yeah. I've already seen some, so I didn't lose my mental capacity because I've already been turned on by it.
See, and that, man,
you see what I'm saying?
Makes so much sense. So let's go to a friend of mine, right?
Yeah.
In the 1999, The Matrix blew everyone's mind.
Oh my gosh, blew my mind.
The freaking special effects, bullet time. These were all things we had never seen in cinema before. So it was amazing. And everyone was, we were all caught up in it. So then a friend of mine was saying how he had shown it to his girlfriend in like 2010. You know what I mean? And so at that point he said she didn't like it. And I said, what do you mean she didn't like it? Of course my mind's blown. And he said, well, she didn't understand the big deal. Right? And so he explained it to me. He goes, well, Rad, you got to think about it. Since The Matrix came out, bullet time had been used, like overused to where it's not even a thing anymore. Yeah. The effects that were used in it were like
slow
used
motion.
In it. Like, the gags in it, the martial arts, all that stuff had been used in other movies so much that by the time this person watched it 12 years later, they're like, I don't get why it was such a big deal.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
To the point where lately we've been watching movies with Nessa, and we're going through this list of classics, and I explained to her why it was such a groundbreaking thing. I said, you have to understand, before this, we didn't have this, or we watch older movies from the 80s, and I'm like, oh, back then, people had to actually pick up a phone because they couldn't do this, or they didn't have this option, or they couldn't call someone. And so, even in that sense, even just our amazement or wonderment over cinema. Yeah. Is kind of numbed. Yeah. To where, like, I can watch something that's not even that old and still amazing, but it's like, I've kind of seen that. What was the big deal?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So, exactly what you said. Man, great point. And that's a great point to wrap up on. Yeah. So guys.
Man, this was good.
Yeah, this was a good one. This one's a little deeper, guys, but I'm glad that we talked about it because, that's what we're here for, man. We're here to kind of just have a conversation about these subjects. Absolutely. And we learn some things about each other.
Yeah, we do.
This is something I guess we've never talked about.
That's right.
That said, we're definitely right at the hour. Well, a little bit over the hour. So, Jennifer, you got anything you want to add or close up with on this one?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me share my story.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you were the expert in this subject.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And Shank, what you got?
Oh man, I enjoyed the conversation. When we were talking about Angie actually, because you guys were texting, but Angie was telling me about it, and I was like, "Dang, how are we gonna talk about?" But I just love how we unravel things and we unpack it together. it's an experience. So I appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah,
that was
it
very
was.
interesting.
Yeah.
That said, we're going to go ahead and do our closing, guys. All right. So thank you for listening to this episode of Unrequested. As always, you didn't ask for it,
But you got it.
and we got a new closing, and we're going to say, as the old saying goes, bye.
Bye.